If you were going all in, I need a vertical shaft, part one, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna feel glove logo towards the ground. I'm gonna feel left elbow towards the ground. And I'm gonna feel more tilt, meaning my left shoulder more down. Now, if you did all three of those and actually did it and recorded it, your shaft would be more vertical. I want to talk to you today about live view golf. Now, you guys hear me say all the time that you need feedback when you're practicing. You need to know if you're actually doing what you're trying to do, and the best way to give yourself feedback ultimately is video. And not only is video the best way to give yourself feedback, but being able to see yourself simultaneously as you're doing a movement is the best form of video feedback. It's the best way I've seen to make changes in your swing and be able to correlate the differences between your feels and your reels. Live view is super easy to use and set up. Simply set it up behind or in front of you. You connect it with your iPad or phone, pop that on the ground. You can actually do your practice, see yourself as you're doing it, the best way to expedite your process. I encourage you guys to check out Live View Golf. We'll put a link in the description down below with a coupon code. Hey guys, Eric here. We're out at the beautiful Palm Beach Par 3 in Palm Beach, Florida. Beautiful facility. If you ever get a chance to come down here, we highly recommend it. Now, in today's video, we're going to talk about 2 key checkpoints so you can make your backswing like the pros do. Now, in this video, the 2 key checkpoints, and if we look at some swings that we'll look at in this video of what the best players in the world do and the best ball strikers anywhere, there's some commonalities amongst what they do in the backswing. Now, some people may say the backswing doesn't matter. That's up for debate. I think it does. Now, while there's some different things you can do and make some kind of quirky backswings and still hit it good, if you look at the whole, if you look at the average of what good players do, there are a couple key checkpoints that a lot of them hit. We're going to talk about 2 of them. Now, we're going to keep this simple. And the checkpoint we're going to look at in the backswing is going to be when the left arm or lead arm for you gets parallel to the ground. So from the face on camera, when your lead arm is parallel to the ground, that's probably just below 3/4 swing for most people, above half swing. When this is parallel to the ground, 2 things we're going to look at. The first thing we're going to look at is where the shaft is in space and kind of the pitch of the shaft, right? So from here, this shaft, this would be straight up and down vertical. So if I made a backswing, this is straight up and down. This is straight horizontal. Now my hands didn't move anywhere. My hands are in the same spot, but the pitch of the shaft, or the shaft angle, maybe the best term, has changed. So where the angle of the shaft is, when these players get to left arm parallel, is going to be checkpoint number 1. Now, opinions aside, if you went on YouTube and you looked at the top 100 ball strikers and you drew a line on the screen straight down the shaft, you would see the same thing I'm going to present to you. So this isn't Eric's opinion on it, this is what the good players do. Now, where do they get to? Where should the angle of the shaft be? If I'm going to use a little alignment rod here as a visual, and we used a golf ball, and you sort of drew a line over top the golf ball that extended back forever and all the way to the target. I'm going to just put a stick here on top of this. Hopefully we can see that and I angle it decent. But let's say that's roughly in line with where I'm going here, okay? So the golf ball line. When I make a backswing, the butt of the club should point on or inside of that line. So if we look at a checkpoint, when I make my backswing, if I look at where the butt of the club points, you can kind of see that a little bit through this stick here. Notice at where I'm at here, even if everything else isn't perfect, notice the angle of the shaft and how it's inside, more towards me, that stick, than that stick that's on the ground. This would be the butt of the club outside that line. This would be angled on that line, and this would be inside that line, okay? The checkpoint of what good players do, most of them, will be right directly on that, so that's the angle it's on, or slightly more vertical with the shaft where it's inside of that. I would say a safe zone would be anywhere from that line to about your toe line. So this line right here, that zone to here, and if the butt of the club got anywhere in here, you have the highest likelihood of getting solid contact, of shallowing your downswing, in body rotation, hitting the ball high and far, etc. So our safe zone is I want to point this butt of the club in between that zone somewhere. Are there some really good players like a Jon Rahm who gets it with a lot of wrist flexion outside that and plays well? Of course. If you have a backswing that's out of that zone and you coordinate your downswing and play really well and hit it good, I don't think you should change it. But if you're looking to get a backswing that's in a PGA Tour-like position, or you're not happy with how you're hitting it, this would be a good idea. So how do you start with this? Well, okay, Eric, I know that I want to get it within this zone here. I want the angle here. The number one concept to understand, okay, is when you go back, whatever your issue is, regardless of where you are, you have to feel the opposite, and you have to exaggerate way more than you sitting there right now currently think. Like way more than you think. So if you're someone that goes back and you're too flat and the butt of the club's outside there, we're saying your issue is you're too horizontal. What's the opposite of horizontal? More vertical, okay? So the solution is you need to feel more vertical. Regardless of how, you need to feel more vertical. The next question is how much? Well, you need to feel probably to the point where the shaft's almost straight up and down. You're gonna feel like the butt of the club's pointed more towards your toe line. You're gonna need to record yourself. And when you do, so long as it's on or just inside of this, we're okay. Now there's a couple factors we're gonna talk about that kind of dictate that, but that's the starting point. So if I remove these so I can hit a couple, when you go back, if you're someone who's too flat, a lot of times there to hit that first checkpoint, the issue is more here. I don't see many people who get too vertical. I don't even know if too vertical is a thing, but I would say if you're kind of vertical, you're in a safe zone. But if you're too flat, in all likelihood from here, you had too much forearm rotation or you had too much shoulder rotation. So if you're too flat, forearm rotation means the glove's too far towards the sky, or you had too much shoulder rotation, which means your elbow's pointed more towards that way. Glove to sky, bad. Elbow that way, bad. How do we fix those? Well, opposite and exaggerated. If my glove normally goes to the sky, what's the opposite of the sky? The ground. Okay, so my glove should feel more towards the ground, Eric said. Well, that's really straight that way. That's not towards the ground. Exactly. You need to feel towards the ground just to get it neutral. Notice where my shaft is at, more vertical. Glove towards the sky, more horizontal. So glove more towards the ground. We also said if you're too flat, your elbow's pointed too far over that way. What's the opposite of over that way? It's that way. But we're gonna go towards the ground again. So elbow points more down towards the ground this way, shaft also more vertical. Last part, notice every time I did a forearm roll here, my shoulders turn very level, okay? Very level shoulder turn, usually flat shaft. What's the opposite of level? Tilt. Notice by just changing that my shaft angle changes a bunch. So if you were going all in, I need a vertical shaft, part one, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna feel glove logo towards the ground. I'm gonna feel left elbow towards the ground, and I'm gonna feel more tilt, meaning my left shoulder more down. Now, if you did all three of those and actually did it and recorded it, your shaft would be more vertical. So what do? How do you start? You put the camera on, you start slow, short swing, probably hit a first ball with a 9-iron, maybe 100 yards max, and you turn the camera on and you see where that is relative to the checkpoint, and then you rinse and repeat until you hit that feel, right? You use 1, 2, or all 3 of those feels, and you start to get a sense of elbow down, glove down, shoulder down. And if you do that correctly, that shaft should be much more vertical as you do your backswing motion. I'll do one more, and then we'll talk about checkpoint number 2. So glove logo down towards the ground, elbow down towards the ground, left shoulder down. All those pieces make the shaft more vertical. Glove down, shoulder down, elbow down. All those pieces make the shaft more vertical. Now, if you have the shaft too vertical, which we said before, we're currently not sure if that's even a thing, what would you do to make it more flat? You would do the opposite of what we just said. You would make your glove logo go more up towards the sky. That would make the shaft go more horizontal. You'd make your left elbow or lead elbow go more out, not down, or you'd make your shoulders a little flatter. That's what you would do for that. Now, all that was just one of 2 checkpoints. Let's talk about the next one. Okay, so checkpoint number 2. Number 1 was what's the angle that the shaft's on or inside ball line. The second part is where is it? Meaning where are their hands? Again, we're looking at left arm parallel. So by the time I get to here, where are their hands? And the easiest reference point is the body. So if I just pulled my arms and hands in toward me, where are they? I would say a safe zone is between sternum, so shirt logo here, or sternum shirt buttons, and right bicep. Now, if I were gonna get more specific, I would say really the checkpoints, right? Because there's some in the sternum, but that's a little more out than most. And then I would say the easy checkpoints would be between the pec, so the right pec, and the right bicep would be on the deep end. So a spectrum would be, they need to be somewhere, I would say, between shirt buttons and the bicep. Let's say the pec, right bicep would be number 1. So if you wanted to make a tour quality backswing, you not only want to make sure that the shaft angle is more on or inside ball line, and that shaft angle can do that from anywhere. It can be deep, it can be here, it can be here. It doesn't change that. What we're saying is part 2, you want some depth. You want your left arm to be in some amount, about hands in line with the pec. The important part here is that you want to get your depth through the turn. We did a great video with Ben Pelicani when we were in Nashville that will link up when we're done about how to get the depth. But what you're going to make sure is that you want to get turned. So when you're doing this backswing, regardless of the angle of the shaft, you want to make sure that you're getting enough turn so you can hit some checkpoints. That your hands are going to get somewhere close to your thigh back here from body turn, and you're going to continue turning to get in line with here. Now in Ben's video, we have a bunch of drills on how to get the depth. So I'm going to skip part of that because I want you to watch this video or watch that video when this one's over. But what your take home there is you need to turn enough to get deep enough. And there's a bunch of different videos and drills, like we said, in that video. So I want you here to check out a couple of the professional swings so we can show you exactly what I was just talking about so you can see. We'll just show you a couple of them, and then go watch Ben's video. We're gonna put Ben's video up on the left at the end of the video, and we're gonna put another video up on the right that I want you to watch after a couple of these pros. Guys, these are the positions that you wanna get during the backswing. It is what it is, right? You need a camera to go through these. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did like this video at the end, go ahead and click the like button for us, the notification bell, and please subscribe. Thank you guys. All right, guys, I just wanted to give you a quick peek here at a few examples. We have Adam Scott on the left, Hideki Matsuyama on the right, and we're going to take them to left arm parallel. And what I want you to focus in on here is, number 1, where the hands are at left arm parallel. We'll pull them both up at the same time. And I'm just going to draw a circle for illustration here. Now, like we said, about in line with the right pec or the trail pec or bicep would be ideal. Really, the safe zone for most good players is going to be somewhere between that mid-sternum, which is about here, and the bicep, which is here. So you can see where the hands are for both these players. And the second point is going to be the shaft angle. Now, this is the ball target line we're talking about. If you were to draw a straight line over there, what we're saying is we want the shaft angle to be on or just inside of that. And of course, there are anomalies to the rule, but if you were to draw a line down the shaft, you'll see that Hideki's slightly inside of that, while Adam Scott is right on it. So when you're recording your swings, those are the things that you're looking for in terms of feedback. Draw a circle around the hands, get in line with the right pec, right bicep. Draw a straight line down the shaft on or just inside the ball line.